Happy Sunday night, guys. Captain Dylan Hubbard here with Hubbard's Marina, coming to you live Sunday night for our fishing show. Going to talk to you a little bit about nearshore and offshore fishing. Going to talk to you about some fishing tips, tricks. Going to talk about half-price fishing. We're going to give you a red tide update. We're going to talk about the best charter boat in St. Pete Clearwater boating, and then we're going to answer your questions. I've got a special guest in the studio tonight, Captain Mark Hubbard, my father, the owner, the original from Hubbard's Marina, and it's going to be a really special show. So stay tuned for us, guys. If you're watching this live, just give us a few minutes. We'll get rolling. If you're not watching this live, go ahead and skip forward to where you see the video start. About 3 minutes or so, we'll get rolling if you're watching live. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Make sure you give the video a like and share this stream with your friends. Thank you, guys. Happy Sunday night. We'll be right with you. Hey, Facebook. Happy Sunday night. Captain Dylan Hubbard here from Hubbard's Marina, coming to you live, talking to you a little bit about fishing reports. This is our special Sunday night fishing show. I've got a special guest in the studio tonight. My father, Captain Mark Hubbard, president and owner of Hubbard's Marina, is here to join me, give you guys lots of special tips and tricks. So it's a special father-son episode tonight, guys. So it's going to be a good show. Thanks for tuning in, y'all. We're going to be talking a little bit about a fishing report. Going to tell you what's been going on, what we're catching. We're going to give you a red tide update. We're going to talk about half-price fishing trips. So if you like getting 50% off of your fishing trip, tonight's a good show to watch. We're also going to be talking about the best charter boat voting for St. Pete Clearwater, and we're going to be answering your questions and giving away tons of fishing tips and tricks. Again, that's Captain Mark Hubbard in studio tonight with me. So Captain Mark and Captain Dylan here, and we are going to do lots of good stuff for you guys tonight. So stay tuned. We're going to get this thing rolling very shortly. As always, if you're watching this live, please share this stream on your timeline with your friends and give this video stream a like. If you love fishing, show us those likes, guys. Give us a thumbs up if our audio's coming through clean, and we're going to get rolling here very shortly. If you're not watching this live, you can go ahead and skip forward to where you see the video start. If you are watching this live, come on, guys. Start sharing this video around. Help us spread the word. And then thanks for tuning in. Hopefully everybody's having a good Sunday. I know a lot of people are excited about football kicking off. The NFL has started. I don't know if you're an NFL fan. I enjoy watching it from time to time, but with all the drama lately, it's gotten a little bit played out. But hey, it is what it is. It is always fun to watch your favorite team, and the Bucks kicked butt tonight, so that was good to see. I don't know if you're a Bucks fan, but I am, being from this area, and it was a good time watching them beat up on the Saints. Again, guys, we're going to be talking a little bit about our fishing report. Don't worry, Dan Christopher, we're going to give you that fishing report from the hub today. Captain Anthony took the hub out for that special 10-hour trip, and we're going to be telling you all about it. So don't worry, Dan, that's coming. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Again, we're going to get rolling here very shortly. If you're watching this live, please go ahead and share the stream with your friends on your timeline or in your favorite fishing club. And if you're not watching this live, go ahead and skip forward to where you see the video start. We're going to be rolling very shortly. If you are watching live, make sure you give the video a like if you love fishing. Comment where you're watching from. Give us a thumbs up if you can hear our audio nice and clean. Hopefully you guys have your questions ready. It's going to be a good show tonight. Again, Captain Mark Hubbard here in studio, my father. Going to be a cool show. So give us a few more seconds. We're going to be ready to rock. Dad, you ready?
I'm ready.
He's ready.
I'm ready.
We're all ready. You guys ready? Hopefully you guys can hear us nice and clear. If you can hear us, give us the thumbs up sign on Facebook. If you're on YouTube, listen to us live. Make sure you comment. Let us know where you're watching from. Hopefully you guys are having a good Sunday night. You enjoyed the kickoff to NFL. Always an interesting time of year. All the rivalries. College football's back. Yeah, who cares about the NFL? College football's back. Which one do you like more, Dad? College football or NFL?
Nowadays, if I was going to watch, I would watch college. Unfortunately, at the NFL, I sit out.
Yeah. A lot of people doing that nowadays. It's definitely been contentious, to say the least. Let's see what we got going on here. Looks like we're all set. Alrighty then. Bam. Hello. There we are. We're live.
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up if you can hear us and see us well. Hopefully you guys are having a great Sunday and you're ready for a good show. I know we are, and we're ready to give you lots of fishing tips and tricks. Oh, Michael, Jean, Jimmy, she's back in the house. Chris, Jimmy, I hope you guys all had a great time fishing today on the Flying Hub 2. I know you guys sent me some of those good photos. Nice big amberjack, and Michael, awesome job catching that big old shark today on the Flying Hub 2. I know Captain Garrett put you on him, and it was a good time, and glad you guys could join us. If you guys can hear us, give us a thumbs up. Let us know that you can hear us and see us well. I don't see anybody saying the audio's bad, so it looks like everything's good to go there. We are going to start off by talking a little bit about our fishing report, show you guys a little bit about show you some photos of what we've been catching. First thing I want to show you is a quiz. This one's going to be a good one. This is something we caught today on our 5-hour half day. So this was 5-hour half day today. Let's see if you guys can guess what it is. There it is. It is not a normal fish. It's a pretty rare catch. Something we don't see all the time. Comment if you think you know what that fish is. I'll give you another angle. It is not what you think it is. It's a pretty rare catch. What do you think, Dad?
Never seen one before in my life.
It's pretty unique. Dusty sent me a photo of this. Dusty Peterson from the Smokey and Dusty show on the half-day trip. Oh, skip forward too far.
It's like a cross between a snakefish and a squirrelfish.
That's what I thought it was. I thought it was the snakefish, squirrelfish hybrid, but sent it to our friends at FWC, and the marine biologist gave us a definite answer, and it is not a squirrelfish, lizardfish hybrid. It is actually called a... Let's see if anybody can guess it. We're going to hold on. We're going to go through the other photos. Let's see if you can guess it. If you can guess it, we'll give you let's see if you can guess that right. Get the proper full name. We'll give you a free half-day fishing trip. I'm excited tonight. Got Dad in the studio. It's going to be a good show. So if you can get the correct name for that fish before we stop going through the photos, you're going to win a free 5-hour half-day fishing trip, guys. So here is a nice big old red grouper. Captain Anthony took out Frank and his family. Frank Padronis from New York was his birthday, and his kids took him out fishing. They got on some nice big fat red grouper on a Flying Hub 2 8-hour. And there's Frank, the man himself. Mr. Padronis comes down from New York every year to spend the winter with us. Came down a little early this year to go fishing with his sons and his son's friends, and they did very well out in the Flying Hub 2. The red grouper bite's been going pretty well out there. It's a little picky. We've been catching red grouper here and there. I don't know, Dad. What do you think? It's a little slow on red grouper this year.
They have spread out, is my theory. From the oil spill in 2010, the theory was they all pushed south, and we had 3, 4, 5 years of banner red grouper fishery. North of Clearwater, there were very, very few red grouper caught. People were crying the blues all the way around the northern Gulf. So that was the theory, that they pushed down from Clearwater south, and now they're catching red grouper up there.
Yeah.
We aren't catching as many.
Mm-hmm.
So my theory is the whole stock just spread back out. Now we are getting some nice red grouper. We're just not getting as many.
Yeah, it's very interesting. The red grouper fishery, a lot of stuff going on with red grouper right now. They're doing a red grouper stock assessment. We're going to the red grouper stock assessment workshop this week, right?
Yes, we are on that committee, and I look forward to hearing all the scientific data and anecdotal data and all the different reports people have been submitting. They've been asking for information, and we're going to hopefully see some fish and not have a knee-jerk reaction. But I guess from this information, they're going to come up with their assessment, and then the Gulf Council will make a decision based on that assessment.
Yeah, what happens is this the CDAR stock assessment happens, guys, and once the CDAR stock assessment happens, then the Science and Statistical Committee looks at that assessment and makes assumptions, and then suggests an OFL, or an overfishing limit, and then an ABC, which is an allowable biological catch. And that ABC is set against the OFL by a buffer to contend for data uncertainty. And then the management sector, the council, will come in and look at that ABC and then set an ACL, or allowable catch limit, with a buffer from the ABC to allow for management uncertainty. And then in some species that are contentious, like red snapper, then they set an ACT, which is an allowable catch target, which is another buffer. So
Brutal.
yeah, that buffers kill us. But long story short, red grouper, we're going to be paying a lot of close attention to red grouper over the next 6 to 12 months as some changes may be coming. A lot of people, mostly commercial fishermen, some recreational fishermen, are saying red grouper are in trouble. So the fishermen are the ones crying for red grouper closures, not the scientists.
On the commercial side.
There's some recreational, but yeah, mostly commercial.
What we have to do is hold on to our buffers next year when they come out with this data.
We shall see. But then from these Flying Hub 2 red grouper, we're going to talk to you a little bit about the half-day fishing trip. A lot of people asking us about red tide and is red tide affecting fishing. Well, normally we don't show a lot of 5-hour half-day photos, but Dusty from the Smokey and Dusty show snapped some 5-hour half-day shots after the trip this week, so we could show you guys what we're catching on that 5-hour half-day. Mostly gray snapper lately. The hogfish bite hasn't been super crazy, but we're catching a few hogfish. But those gray snapper or white grunts are biting well. We're seeing a lot of mackerel, as you can see here from the stringers. But nice big stringers of those gray snappers, also known as a white grunt or Key West grunt. Very good eating fish. And we're catching a lot of them. So long story short, red tide is not affecting our nearshore or offshore fishing trips. We're catching plenty of fish, guys. So it's a great time to come out and join us. And we're going to be telling you very shortly how you can get a 5-hour half day for only $27.50. That's 5 hours on the water for $27.50. So stay tuned. And bam, look at that thing.
Man, is that gorgeous.
Big old redfish, huh? Those things swim offshore this time of year and spawn in the deeper nearshore and offshore waters. So it's really, really unique time of year. We'll see these big balls of redfish boiling offshore, and they're out there spawning. So we try to avoid them. We do our best not to target them because they're very fragile when they're nearshore and offshore, and they're closed in federal waters. So even if you caught one big enough to keep, you couldn't keep it because there's no federal water season. So we try to avoid them because they're fragile. They're out there to do their thing and come back inshore. But occasionally you can't avoid it. I remember as a kid, I was fishing with you on the Hub, and we were out there at deep water, like 80, 90 feet. And all of a sudden, all the rods on the boat, boom, boom, boom.
Yep, you'll be trolling around, trolling along, and all of a sudden all 4 rods will bury down and sometimes have a triple header of redfish.
Yeah, it's a very exciting time of year. We see this in the spring and again in the fall. So always pretty interesting to see those redfish out there. And a lot of times when they're balled up, boiling on the surface, it's because of a big shark chasing them. That's what I've seen a lot of times, at least.
Sometimes they just boil. I mean, I've seen them out there, just the water's just crimson red with solid redfish.
Yeah.
And it's a neat thing to watch, and
Yeah.
watch them just doing their thing.
Yeah, hopefully plenty of them out there are doing it right now because we need them. A lot of redfish worries along the state of Florida as well. Now, this is pretty cool. This is Rob, the fishing manager at Bass Pro Shops in Tampa. He sent me this photo on his cell phone the other night. He's catching these triple tail from John's Pass on the dock lights using live shrimp at night. He says the triple tail are thick inside John's Pass.
Nuts.
Isn't that nuts? And Captain Frank caught a triple tail off a dead fish this week.
Huh.
Yeah, there is some minor red tide along the coast, and we had a really high tide today, so a lot of water came flooding into John's Pass. And on that super high tide, what was it? It was almost like 2.5 feet above sea level today, huh?
Yes, it was. Maybe, it was a foot or two up, but it was definitely a flood tide. I think a lot of these fish are just ahead of the red tide.
Yeah,
They're trying to stay out of it, and that might be pushing these triple tails inshore. It's cleaner water, and the grouper bite. I mean, last week we had a really nice gag grouper bite just ahead of that red tide wave, of which is going past us now.
Yeah.
Anytime you get in some clear water, the fish seem to be chewing nice, but obviously you get into the dark, nasty
And
water.
even today, in the darker, not so pretty water, the half day killed the fish today. Bobby was fishing on 40 foot of water and found some clearer water. It wasn't super dirty, but they caught almost 200 fish in some questionably colored water. So, and the fish are not affected. That's another rumor we hear a lot. Mollusks, crustaceans are affected. So oysters, scallops, shrimp, all those things are affected by red tide and can become a little bit dangerous to eat. But fish, the muscle from the fish or the flesh or the fillet never becomes dangerous to human consumption. You can eat them right out of the red tide, and obviously don't eat any rotten dead fish, but the fresh fish that you catch are not dangerous to eat. That is a rumor. That is not true. So we got through these photos here. Let's see if we can spot anybody who picked up that fish. Let me go back to it. We exited out of it too quick. Let's see here. We'll go back, pull it up. So I haven't seen the correct answer for this guy yet. Nobody got it. Tom Ray was close. This is a blunt-nosed lizardfish. A blunt-nosed lizardfish. Looks a lot like a squirrelfish, lizardfish mix. It's got almost a squirrelfish head, squirrelfish coloring, but it's got that lizardfish tail. And FWC biologists, 2 different ones, confirmed this was a blunt-nosed lizardfish. So I didn't see anybody answer it, but as a consolation prize, we do have half-price fishing trips going on right now. You can get a half-price 5-hour half-day. So instead of $55, you can go out on a 5-hour half-day for only $27.50 right now. And we also got Shell Key Ferry and the Dolphin watching trip for half price right now. You guys want to see how? Should we show them how?
Show them how.
Show them how. We'll show them how. So you go to hubbardsmarina.com, right on our homepage at hubbardsmarina.com. This is our email newsletter coupon. The email newsletter goes out every Friday. So you can sign up for the email newsletter on the bottom right-hand corner of the website. Once you've entered your email in there, then you go to info. Under the info tab, you can scroll down to fishing news. Under the fishing news tab, that's that's not what's supposed to. There we go. Always when we're live, we have funny stuff happen. So again, info, fishing news. Once you're on the fishing news tab, you want to click that read more button under the most recent fishing report. That's the one that just went out. Once you click read more there, guys, it's going to pull up the fishing newsletter. Our email coupons go out every single week with these emails, and it's right there down at the bottom. Click on that coupon. It's going to pull up the fishing report special, and there it is. Half price or 50% off a 5-hour half day. All the information on how to use that discount, how to apply it at checkout on your online reservation. It's all right there for you. Again, that's info, fishing news, and then you click the latest fishing newsletter and you'll get all that information, guys. So hopefully you can come out and join us for a 5-hour half day, a Shell Key ferry trip, or a dolphin watching cruise was the other one.
We're very excited about this. We used to do it all the time, and over the course of the last year or two, we haven't been doing so much. So, Dylan and I talked about it, and we're making this offer. Give everyone a chance to come on out and try it, and you can come out twice as many times, or perhaps come out and if you can't quite afford regular scheduled prices. So enjoy.
And it's very limited time. So thanks, Dad, for letting us do this. This is a very limited time, guys. It's only till the end of September. So if you want to come out and enjoy a 5-hour half day for $27.50, get on it. That's a very short time. You can come out and join us. Take advantage of that good fishing. We are catching plenty of those white grunts or gray snapper.
I'm surprised about the mackerel. There's always a few mackerel around. Seems like there's an awful lot of mackerel around right now. I was trolling out Saturday, and we got near our limit, and there was nice big fish, and it was fun. Nice, easy fishing on the way out, and then bottom fishing, chewing really well because we found some nice clean water just ahead of a pot of red tides. So nice. That was good.
Yeah, the mackerel are thick for sure. And when do you think the kingfish are going to make it? I was hoping to see them on this full moon, but still a little hot out there.
Way hot and way early. We won't see those till October. The water temp's got to start really going down. The water temp's coming back up now.
All that rain?
Yeah, and just sunshine. And I think it'll take a pretty good storm. Unfortunately, there's a few coming, and one of them's going to come by, and a week of cloudiness and wind will drop the water temp 5 to 10 degrees, and that will really start moving things around the backside of September.
Yep. Now, speaking of those storms, guys, real quick, not to get off track here, but again, hubbardsmarina.com. You can go to fishing trips, go down to weather links, and on our weather links page, we have all the tropical links you could want. My favorite are down towards the bottom. The weather modeling is really cool. But this is my favorite, spaghettimodels.com, also known as Mike's weather page. It's got all the tropical links you could ever want. And check this out. This thing just developed today. This is an invest or something to watch. It has a 40% chance of developing, and it's literally developing in the Caribbean basin right now, just east of the Yucatan Peninsula. So this is going to be something we're watching very closely over the nighttime period and into tomorrow. Looking awfully similar to Harvey's path, and we're hoping and praying nothing like that happens. Then we've obviously got Hurricane Florence. This thing is going to be probably close to a Cat 4, if not a Cat 5. Expected to make landfall somewhere from northeast Florida all the way up through North Carolina into Virginia. And some models are now forecasting it to skirt the coast and go north, and that is not good. So pay attention to the tropics. It's definitely active. We've got 2 hurricanes, 1 tropical storm, and 2 areas of disturbance that we're keeping our eyes on. So a lot of tropical action right now. And again, all those links can be found at hubbardsmarina.com under fishing trips. Go to weather links.
Now, if a storm does look like it's coming our way and you all are thinking about fishing or have reservations, don't just bail. Wait and let us make the determination. A lot of times, just ahead or right behind a storm, the fishing will be at its best. Yep. We're not going to go out if it's super rough. So I know if there's a storm bearing down on us, everyone has to get ready. But if something like this little invest going into the Gulf, don't freak out, because that actually will help us and help the fishery as it mixes up the water in the Gulf and drops the water temp a little bit, and it makes the environment right for fishing.
Hurricanes are good for fishing. It's not good for the people.
It's a love-hate relationship.
Yeah, a lot of hate, but a little bit of love for them.
It's all part of nature, Yeah. I mean, the red tide, hurricanes. It
turns everything over.
Yeah, and last year we didn't have hardly any storms, and I was really pleasant to see the water temp still drop and things start to get right as the days got shorter, but it just took longer.
Yeah.
Whereas we get a couple good storms in September, it really it gets all the fish off the flats is what I call them out in the middle grounds. Mike Anderson always freaks out when I say that. I talk about the flats out in the Gulf of Mexico. We're talking about the flats of shell and sand, and gets those gags and those mangroves stacked up on the hard bottom, which makes our job easy because we know where the hard bottom is.
Yeah.
So we go out there and just go get them after the backside of these storms.
And one thing I've noticed getting into the National Marine Fisheries circuit, and thank you for letting me do that, by the way, but learning more about the fishery biology and the recruitment following these storms, in my opinion, I think hurricanes improve recruitment because it stirs up the Gulf, and where these spawning aggregations happen, like Madison Swanson up in the Northeast Gulf, is a confirmed gag grouper spawning ground. And following 2005, 2007, 2012, those huge hurricane years, you can see the spread that of the recruitment in year class and those baby gag grouper getting spread through the Gulf. Whereas the years we don't have a lot of storms, they don't spread out very much, and that population doesn't get stronger in a larger area. It's very concentrated.
It's a natural progression of how the fish move around. I mean, it bugs me when they do those closed areas. It has nothing to do with, in my opinion, the trying to keep those fish safe from the fishermen, because the fish move around. Even the fish in steamboat lumps, they move into the middle grounds and they move back out to there. Some people feel they move as far as all the way up into the panhandle, and there's a definite certain aggregate of fish that do that because we catch hundreds and hundreds of them. It'll be a real light colored gag grouper, and they're traveling over sand, and every winter we get them in certain areas. I don't really want to say where, but the
over your head.
Yeah, deeper and over your head, and you get a limited gag grouper. I mean, it's hundreds of fish every year, and these fish are on the move, and in the early spring, late winter, they move back offshore, and there are a certain amount of large grouper that just move from, say, 400 feet into 200 feet or 150 feet and then move back out to 200 feet. But these smaller spawning grouper of 20 to 26 inch fish, they seem to move all the way up into the shallows and move back out. I know that they were trying to tag some of these, but I have not heard or seen any data of those tagged fish and where they think they're moving.
The FWRI, Florida Wildlife Research Institute, which is a research branch of FWC, has done a ton of tagging data for red grouper, and everything they have states that red grouper only move on average between 10 to 15, maybe 20 miles from their home area, which blew my mind because I always grew up thinking, finding out, and every year it's the same. In the summertime, those red groupers seem to come in a little bit, feed better closer to shore, and then in the wintertime they seem to push out a little bit, and the gags do the opposite. Gags come in the wintertime and go out during the summertime. Now the gags, that tagging data proves true. They come into the shallows in cooler months and move offshore in the winter months. The red grouper don't seem to move around that much.
I guess that blows my theory about them swimming down from the panhandle and swimming back.
But that also is a very, very centrally located tagging study, because that's what I said is, well, you said, grandfather, before you said that's what they do, and that's always been the pattern we've seen. And they argued, well, maybe they're just not biting well in the shallow water in wintertime, but I think it's just the central population of grouper. They've only done one small tagging study, and they need to test the whole West Florida shelf.
There's like different aggregates of fish, different gene pools of fish. Just the fish that Anthony caught today, those weren't there 2 months ago. He had to go real deep to get them.
Yeah.
And now we're fishing, and just in it was 2004 14 and 15, we had commercial fishermen fishing right next to us on our all-day boat, catching 26-inch red grouper, big red grouper, from 2014 to 2016. And I mean, we had some big fish inshore. Now, the theory was they got pushed down here from the oil spill and all the disbursements. But have found that as well, usually they're about 20 miles, 30 miles out, and those fish are normally in like 180 feet of water, and certain times of the year they push into shallower water, which is our all-day range, our 80-foot stuff. But so I think that's a different gene pool that they were tagging.
Yeah.
They were doing those tags
along the pipeline, very limited area.
Yeah, and I think there's different fish that move around, and like the bigger fish maybe move more than the smaller fish do.
Yeah.
And most of those tags were in smaller fish.
Yeah. Now, guys,
we kept all the big fish. They came on the boat, we kept them. So the only fish that got tagged were the small ones.
Yeah. Now, guys, make sure as you're watching here, we've done our introductions. We've talked about our fishing report, and we've gone through the half-price fishing. We've talked about a lot of stuff here, so we're going to get started on your questions now. Make sure, guys, that you comment where you're watching from. Give us a thumbs up if you're enjoying the video. And don't forget to share this video with your friends, on your timeline, and in your favorite fishing club. I appreciate y'all tuning in. Again, this is Captain Mark Hubbard. I'm Dylan Hubbard. We're both from Hubbard's Marina. Our family business has been fishing Central West Florida for over 90 years now, and 4 generations. So I appreciate y'all tuning in. I hope you guys have some good questions ready for us. I see on YouTube, Michael Kane. What's up, buddy? Thanks for tuning in. Let's see what we got on Facebook here. So I see a question about the split charters, the split charter trips. We have 2 options right now. All year long, we run that Flying Hub 2 12-hour extreme trip. What a unique trip. That boat is so cool.
That it is. And that way people can buy a ticket to get on a fast charter boat to go offshore. It's limited to about 14 to 15 people, and 16 people max. Mm-hmm. But what do we average?
We average this time of year anywhere between 8 to 10 people, so it's super light loads this time of year. And that Flying Hub 2 12-hour extreme trip is such a unique option. You're fishing anywhere from 70 to 100 miles from shore. You're fishing 39-hour area in a 12-hour day trip. So it's basically a 39-hour style trip in quality fish, but you're home by dinner. And it's only $300. You get 7 to 8 hours fishing time, and you ride out there at 33 knots or around 40 miles an hour. Plenty of room on the boats this time of year, very light loads, and the fishing has been awesome out there. Captain Garrett was out there today with the Jimmy family, catching a bunch of big amberjack and a handful of grouper. Anthony's been doing well on the amberjack and grouper. Amberjack are open to the end of October. Gags are open through the end of the year. Red grouper are open through the end of the year. Everything is open right now except for red snapper and triggerfish. So it's a great time to get out there. A lot of good fishing to happening. And then the other super special split charter that's going on right now is the Hub all-day trips. Now, the Hub is a special boat. That's a pretty cool boat. You want to tell the story of the Hub?
Well, you want how far back do I go?
All the way.
It was built in the backyard of somebody's home in Gulfport as a commercial net fishing boat, and I bought it in '92 from a Mr. Randy Nelson who built it, and built it into a crab 6-pack charter boat. And in 1997, got it Coast Guard approved, put the cabin up in the front, and made it into what it is today. And now we can carry 12 people on it. And this time of year, when we have the Florida in dry dock, the Hub will run the all-day trips. That way we can still maintain a couple days a week to our regular scheduled all-day trip schedule, but we limit it to 14 people. So you got an opportunity to go on that boat for, is it still $90?
It's $90, same price as a 10-hour all-day trip, but you're on this special private charter boat going a little bit further, a little bit faster. So you're either getting a little bit further out than you normally would on a 10-hour all-day, or you're getting just a little bit more fishing time.
That is a fish catching boat. It's something about the way the boat sounds. The fish just like it. That boat will catch fish. It's a very good fishy boat.
It is a fishy boat. It's got some really, really good harmonics to it for sure. Does well trolling, does well deep sea fishing, and it's very, very seaworthy. So it's a 10-hour all day. It's a party boat price. $90 gets you almost 7 to 8 hours fishing time on this bad boy. A lot of great fishing going on from the hub boat, and again, that's a 10-hour all-day trip. So it's our normal 10-hour all-day. We're targeting the same species. It's the same price, but it's aboard that smaller private charter boat only until October 16th. So that's a very short time where you get a chance to take advantage of that super great deal. Basically a private charter experience for $90. Or you have the Flying Hub 2 Extreme Trip, which runs all the way through the year on Wednesday and Sunday. And the Flying Hub 2 is a very nice looking boat too. This is a one-of-a-kind, very unique boat. It's the only one in the entire nation.
First of its kind.
First of its kind in the entire nation. There's it at Gasparilla. It's licensed for 26 people, 24 plus captain and crew, but we limit the Flying Hub 2 Extreme trip to only 16 people. That's it before it got wrapped, and there's it with the wrap. So we limit it to 16 people, but again, this time of the year, we're lucky to have maybe 10 on the boat. So super light loads on it. Super nice, smooth ride because it actually comes out of the water. You'll notice where it's sitting in the water now, the water is almost up to that water line. You can see the whole hull is in the water at idle. And we're going to show you here as it gets up on a plane. This is not it jumping out of the water on a wave. It's not bouncing on a wave right now. That's riding on a wing. Literally has a wing underneath the boat. So the boat rides on that wing above the water, and it flies, literally flies above the water. So it's super quiet, super smooth, super fast, and it's a great time. It's a great boat to get out there. So that answers your question about the split charters. You can do the Dave Granger, you can do the 10-hour all day on the hub until October 16th, Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday, or you can do the 12-hour extreme on the Flying Hub 2 Wednesday and Sunday. And all that information, Dave Granger, is right on our website, hubbardsmarina.com, under fishing trips. So again, guys, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to comment with your question. Make sure you share the video with your friends. We're going to be answering questions for the next 20-25 minutes here, guys. Mark Bratchell said, is the shell hunting better after big storms? I know this guy always takes one of the skiffs out there, or the charter boats out there after the storms to go look for shells with my mom. What would you say?
Well, he is correct. Obviously, the shelling is always great after the storms, and when at certain times of the year we'll go out there and there'll be the big coquina-looking shells. What do they call those things?
I always call them apartment house shells.
Yeah.
Sunrays, that's what they're
Sunray
called.
shells. I mean, they're just all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll fill a 5-gallon bucket full of them, and we'll bag them up and sell them there at the marina. But
You weren't supposed to say that part.
Yeah, why not? You know, it's like we're collecting them ourselves. It's pretty cool, you know.
Yeah.
And they say that there was a sunk treasure boat off of Shell Key, and you'll find people out there with
the metal detectors.
Metal detectors at Shell Key, and supposedly they're looking for gold coins out there. I particularly have never found one, but rumor has it, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
There's a new little pass there right in the middle of the island from Irma last year.
Yeah.
That's pretty neat if you haven't been out there.
That's Shell Key has that new pass, and we have
Yeah.
the Shell Key Ferry at half price right now.
And that goes to the bottom half of the island. All the other boats go to the north side of the island. So that's another benefit of taking the Shell Key Ferry from Fort DeSoto out there. You go around that southern tip, and there's always more shells there because there's just not, it's picked over.
Yeah, tons of room around the island. Really cool opportunity to get out there, and it's only $10 right now with that half price coupon.
Yeah. If you have a paddleboard or a kayak, it's easily done from North Beach, Fort DeSoto.
All right, let's see what other questions we have. Again, guys, if you have any questions, comment your questions, and please make sure to share this video stream with your friends on your timeline. Michael Wilbanks said, planning a trip for November, what will you guys be fishing for then? Well, November is my favorite month for gag grouper. How about you? What is your favorite thing in November?
Everything. I mean, everything you said. The amberjack might be closed, but the
They
gags
closed October
really
31st.
ramp up, and mangrove snappers and gag grouper and red grouper usually getting thick. You got heads and tails. I mean, just everything starts to really be active. The water temp is dropping. November, December are excellent fishing months.
Yeah, that's anything that ends in ER is the best for gag grouper, but predominantly October, November, December. November around Thanksgiving being my favorite time for the gag grouper, and we have 239 hours at the end of November with tons of room on them. So Michael Wilbanks, while you're in town at the end of November, strongly encourage you to look at booking those 39 hours towards the end of November. Captain Travis Yakel said, does the grouper migrations relate to bait migrations or simply water temps? I'm going to guess water temps from what we've seen, but it could be bait migrations. What do you think? I know red grouper follow crustaceans, crabs, shrimp. That's their forage food of choice. Gag grouper, they're not going to be chasing bait around, really. They're more ambush.
Yeah, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't. I never even thought about it. It's obviously fish would chase the bait, the food source, water temp.
I think it's a
days
lot
are
to
getting
do with
shorter.
spawning too.
They move to certain areas for spawning, and we know they do it. That's for sure.
All we know is where they're going to be, Travis, not why they're going to be there.
Yep.
Let's see if we have another question.
Maybe Travis has the answer. He's baiting us.
Yeah. No, Travis Yakel is an inshore guy, Tampa Bay. Very good guy. Has a Wednesday night fishing show. The Tampa Fishing Outfitters fishing show on Wednesday night. Captain Travis Yakel and Jason Preto, both from the Florida Guides Association. Let's see what other questions. Mary asked, how's the red tide? Mary, we talked about it a lot in the beginning of the show if you want to rewind, but it mostly is very spotty. We have a little bit of dead fish around Johns Pass today because we had a super strong incoming tide, but for the most part the red tide and the dead fish have been off the beach 2 to 3 miles to about 8 to 10 miles. Very narrow strip. And it's been very spotty. We've been able to catch plenty of fish. The fishing's not affected. The fish are not affected. And
it's breaking up a little bit.
It's breaking up. It's moving north.
Storm broke a couple spots between the patches, which is good. It gives the fish, they survive. The weak ones die, but I don't know how far south this break is. Right now, we have a solid.
It's all the way to Sarasota County.
The fresh, clean water.
Yeah, good water. Sarasota County, Manatee County, Anna Maria. It's all cleared up. Now the red tide seems to be more concentrated in like Clearwater area, off Clearwater's coast.
It hadn't quite made it to Clearwater. I fished Saturday, and it was from like Reddington south to Johns Pass, and it was very, very specific. I mean, you could see it. But it was clean water out. I was 8 miles out off of Indian Rocks, and it was beautiful water up there.
Nice. Well, it's good to know it's moving north, and hopefully it continues to move out of our area and hopefully not affect anybody else. You don't want to wish that on anybody, but
No.
I wish it out of here. Chris Blanco had a great question. What's up with the water in John's Pass? Seems to be a lot tanner than usual. I assume it's from all the rain. Chris Blanco, you are right. That dark brownish, almost nearly black water we see on the outgoing tide from John's Pass is completely the tannin in the water from the bayou. What's that bayou called? Seminole Bayou?
Cross Bayou, Long
Cross
Bayou,
Bayou.
and Seminole Lake.
That's it. So that tannin, that dark water, and that fresh water mixing with the salt water, super low salinity, almost brackish water is what appears brownish. A lot of people are saying, "Oh, there's red tide in John's Pass." I had a 15-year-old snook fisherman on the dock today who was apparently a red tide expert school me on what was going on there. So it was pretty entertaining. But yes, Chris Blanco, that is not the red tide. It's just simply dark water from all that fresh water outpouring on an outgoing tide. We had a super strong incoming tide today, which brought in tons of clean green Gulf water, but it did occasionally bring some dead fish with it. So it was kind of a double-edged sword there. But it's been pretty interesting. Matt Palmer said people freaking out about red tide today in Madeira. What's the real story? Matt Palmer, it's like we've been talking about. It's super spotty. It's kind of moving north. There's plenty of great areas. Fishing's unaffected. But today was the first day where there was a decent amount of fish washing up. And that was simply because of that hard incoming. It's not because a whole bunch of fish died overnight. It's just simply we had a strong incoming tide that was 2.7 feet above sea level. So that's almost a foot above a normal high tide. And that is a huge amount of water incoming to John's Pass.
That nasty red tide was just west of us.
Yeah, it was
Madeira
hanging
Beach.
offshore. And we were really lucky the
So
past
those dead
3
fish
weeks.
came in.
Yeah.
We need a good offshore breeze. We need a brush with a tropical storm.
Just a
that'll
brush.
Just push that stuff out, mix it all up, dilute it to the point to where it dies off.
Yep. Joe from the East Coast said, "Can you talk about the specific specs of the new custom bull bay rods that are coming? For example, what grouper rod is rated for?" Well, the rod ratings are simply a guideline, Joe. I really don't pay attention to the rating on the rod because a rod might be rated for 80-pound test, but you're not going to have a drag strong enough to lock down 80 pounds of pressure. So really, I personally don't pay attention to that rod rating too much. As long as it's a stiff, well-made rod, it's going to hold up to pretty much any abuse you put onto it. And if you're looking to put a lot of abuse on a rod, I go with a solid glass rod, pretty much unbreakable. The strongest reel you can find only has 60 or 80 pounds of drag. So if you have a rod rated for more than 80 pounds, you're just simply wasting sensitivity. That line rating on rods, in my opinion, is used to sell to fishermen. And that's about it. What do you think?
They change dramatically. Mm-hmm. I mean, you really just got to feel the sensitivity of the rod itself, the action, and make your own determination. It depends on the rod or the reel that you're putting on it as well. But the rods that we're getting, you worked really closely with them to come up with nice snapper rods and then a light and a heavy grouper rod. So when we get them, you come out to the marina, touch and feel them, and you'll have firsthand.
Joe's really excited to get some of those custom Bull Bay Hubbard's Marina rods. We're going to get our first samples in tomorrow, hopefully. Dustin Phillips from Bull Bay is bringing them in. And we got 5 different types. We have a jigging rod, a snapper rod, a grouper rod, all 3 of those being conventional. Then we have a hogfish spinning rod, and then we have like a mangrove snapper flatlining rod, both of those being spinning rods. So the snapper rod is a lot like our killer stick. It's got that long butt, that longer foregrip, but it's got a forged aluminum reel seat. with the gunmetal gray. It's going to be awesome. And then it's a black rod with the red and green wrapping. It's going to be really cool. It's going to have the Hubbard's logo, the Bull Bay logo, some of the nicest quality guides I've ever seen on an offshore fishing rod.
Hopefully you'll come down after our meetings in the morning. I'll get a chance to look at them myself.
Yeah, you're not going to, they're going right in my truck. Right in my truck. But what we're going to do is we're going to check those rods out. I'm going to show them to my dad, and between the two of us, we're going to see if we need to tweak anything, and then we're going to make a bigger order, Joe. A lot of people are excited about these Bull Bay rods, and we've got plenty of Daiwa reels. And we're even talking to Southeastern Fishing Tackle Liquidators about accurate reels, and we're talking to Dogfish Tackle about their Shimano Talica line. So a lot of exciting stuff coming up at Hubbard's Marina. We got some really cool rods coming, and we've got a lot of good friends in the community with tons of great tackle as well. Plus, we got a lot of new vertical jigs at the recent show, iCast and the Big Rock Tackle Show. We got a ton of vertical jigs. These new slow pitch jigs. The slow pitch jig fishing is becoming huge. Have you tried any of those slow pitch jigs?
I have not, but I've used the old butterfly jigs and
Yeah.
and then some of the larger bullet heads with the plastic tails, and they work well. I mean,
Yeah.
there's certain captains will use them for pre-fishing to see if there's fish on the bottom, and we had that cut charter last year where everyone on the boat was jigging, and
Yeah.
we caught just as many fish as when we used live bait. So there's definitely something to it. You have to work it, and you have to understand how to use them. And if you do that, then it works well. I mean, on the overnighters, we always have a few people up on the bow doing nothing but jigging.
Yeah.
And they catch just as much as everyone else. It's funny sometimes when they take a butterfly jig and then put a couple pinfish on it, too. So you have a pinfish being dragged around by a butterfly jig. But,
It's amazing, the jig fishing, how far it's come. These new slow pitch jigs, the alien jigs, the butterfly jigs. All these new unique jigs. At the recent tackle show, we got 4 different lines of vertical jigs. I wasn't supposed to tell him that.
You put a jig, you put something down there reactionary for the fish to bite. You get their attention, they're going to bite it. A lot of those jigs are for you and I.
Yeah.
But it's it changes. And
the slow pitch jigs, I've heard a lot about. Captain Anthony swears by him. He does the Flying Hub 2 charters with this group from the East Coast, Robert Henry and his buddies, and this guy Ray Rex from the Melbourne area.
Anything to make it easier for the fish to chew it.
Yeah.
It's a little
and
tiny
that's
thing.
the slow pitch. Yeah.
We never thought they could do a whole lot with inshore jigs. I mean, this inshore jigs have been the same for years, and then look what
naked ball
jigs did, and it works. I mean, that loose hook works.
Yeah, and that's the idea behind the slow pitch jig, is instead of a fast jig like a diamond jig or a butterfly jig, it's got a slower descent. So
well, that's what the butterfly was, a little slower than the diamond jig.
Yeah.
And I could see that.
And these new flutter jigs and slow pitch jigs are even slower.
Are they flatter? Are they lighter weight?
The idea behind a slow pitch jig is asymmetrical. So a symmetrical jig, like for example a diamond, is going to sink faster.
Yes.
Whereas these asymmetrical jigs,
are they slightly curved?
These are not slightly curved. What some guys will do is those butterfly jigs, they'll take them and bend them, and that'll make it flutter down a little bit more, have a slower action to it. But these asymmetrical jigs are simply just very, very pronounced asymmetrical shapes, and they have really special trailer hooks on them. And we got a full line of the Daiwa SK jigs, and they are straight from Japan. They have Japanese writing on them, and the Japanese have really pioneered the vertical jig industry. And
hope you don't have to pay an extra 25% for them.
No. Don't tell him. Don't tell him what we talked about. And we got those new Fathom jigs. We got a bunch of new rigged offshore jigs too. So it's going to be cool. Our shop's going places. Good question there, guys. Let's see what other questions we have. Oh, we got some YouTube questions here. Ryan May said he got a 9/0 pen, a 100-pound braid, 50 foot of 80-pound mono, ball bearing swivel to a number 1 planer to 50 feet of 80-pound mono and a gold spoon. I keep losing fish trolling on the half day. I've hooked up 9 times, landed 1. First thing I would say off the top of my head, Ryan, is from your planer to your spoon, you only want between 15 to 18 feet at most?
Yeah, I do
three
arm lengths, so it's easy for me to just grab it, go 1, 2, 3, and swing the fish in.
But you're 6 foot tall, so 3 arm lengths or you're 6'7".
Yeah, it's 20 feet.
Yeah.
So you could shorten up your leader, and in that gold spoon, I'm concerned that the hook on that gold spoon is going to be too small in the barb. Whereas we use Clark spoons, the squid spoons.
And drone spoons.
Well, drones are more for kingfish. They're larger, much larger. For mackerel, you want to use the smaller spoon, but those Clark spoons work really well. They have a large hook. They're about a 7/0 hook, but the barb is large.
Yeah.
And
huge.
That's going to help tremendous. And then on the party boat, when you're bringing them in, you want to be able to bring them in and not let them, you're skipping on the surface, but you don't pump it to where the fish dives back down. You get them skipping on the surface, and you reel them in really quickly. That way he doesn't bounce and you don't have slack in the line. If you pump it, or if the fish bounces out of the water and your rod's real soft, in other words, maybe even like lower the rod tip down a little bit so there's not as much of a bow in it. So when the fish does come out of the water, it doesn't jerk the fish up, and then you get the slack in the line. That's when the hook turns around and then it falls out and comes unbuttoned. You have much better luck that way.
He's full of good tips. I just learned some stuff I wasn't thinking about too. So thanks for coming on the show tonight. That was a good one. So shorten your leader, Ryan. Get a larger hook. If you already have a large hook, make sure the hook has a larger barb. And then use a stiffer rod, or use your soft rod and kind of point the rod tip more at the fish, so you're not getting that fling back, Ryan. And that should help quite a bit on your trolling game there. Let's see here. What other questions do we have? Michael Hart said, what trips do you have on Mondays? Well, Michael Hart, tomorrow we have a super light 5-hour half day. Monday is dock day, so we do scheduled maintenance on all the fleet. So we have private charter options on Mondays, or we have a 5-hour half day. That's all we got on Mondays. But tomorrow's half day has 17 people on it, and super light load. So definitely come out and join us tomorrow, Michael. You don't need a reservation since it's super light load tomorrow, but we always recommend it. You can go online to hubbardsmarina.com and book that reservation now, Michael. Thanks for the question. Robert Eaton said, watching from Balrico, someone who is landlocked looking for sheep's head, what would I need to look for when fishing from shore? Or is it better to stay on the piers of Fort DeSoto and Skyway piers? Robert Eaton, one of my favorite places to fish for sheep's head is inside Johns Pass, just because it's my backyard. And I fish from shore for the sheep's head. I don't like being up on a pier. It's a lot harder, so much higher from the water. The shore, the jetty, great place to target sheep's head, or right up underneath the Johns Pass Bridge. Anywhere along that structure is going to hold sheep's head. As the water cools down, the sheep's head will get larger, more prolific, and even more aggressive. Similar to hogfish, you want to have 20 to 30 pound fluorocarbon, super light lead, and about a 2/0 hook, so a little bit smaller hook for sheep's head than hogfish. And then fiddler crabs is a great bait. We have a ton of fiddler crabs at Hubbard's Marina, or a small piece of shrimp, or a barnacle, or even a cut piece of oyster.
Do we still have the oyster?
We still have oysters occasionally. They're difficult to keep in stock and to keep fresh, but we do have a regular supply of the fiddler crabs, which worked really well through fall and winter of last year. What's your favorite?
Now the fiddler crab, you can cut those in half and put a half a fiddler crab on there. They eat them just as well dead as they do alive.
But
And,
they work even better whole because
yeah.
you sell more that way.
And you take one of those scrapers for doing your lawn, and you can, or a shovel, a flat nose shovel, and scratch the poles where you're fishing, and those barnacles fall on the bottom will chum up the sheep's head that are around, and drop your line right down to the base of that rod or the base of that pole, and that's where they'll be hanging out eating those chum that you just threw down. If you don't get any in a little while, move to another spot, do the same thing. Scrape some barnacles off the side of the poles or seawall, drop your bait down there, and you'll get them. And once you get them, there'll be a bunch of them there. You'll catch one after another and fill your cooler.
Some good sheep's head tips there, Robert Eaton. Hopefully you enjoy it. Even the landlocked angler is getting plenty of tips tonight with Cat Mark in the studio. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Remember to share this video on your timeline. Help us spread the word. We're going to be answering a few more questions here before we wrap up. But we are getting low on time, guys. So if you have questions, make sure you drop them in the comment box. If we don't get to them live, I'm going to go back through for the next hour or so and answer all the questions we missed. So don't get frustrated if we haven't answered your question or if we don't get to your question. Dan Christopher said, for the 10-hour all day on the Hub, the special split charter trip before October 16th, I ordered 2 dozen shrimp. Am I good using a 3/0 on that trip, targeting snapper and hogs? Real quick, I want to show you something, guys. I personally wrote our website. So I went through this website on my own with my computer and keyboard in hand and wrote this website and all the tackle suggestions. So if you go to fishing trips, go to 10-hour all day. I just recently redid the 10-hour all day and the 5-hour half day pages in preparation for the fall slow time of year. Literally more information than you want is on this page, and there's a large section about tackle in here somewhere. But there's so much information, it's sometimes hard to see what I'm looking for. Let's see here. Prices. Baits, depth of water.
Baits.
There's a huge section on bait here, on all the different, oh my goodness, that's all bait. That's the whole baits.
There, you said live shrimp down here.
So the live pinfish and the live shrimp options there. But this
crab.
is the tackle suggestion, Dan. All this information is all about tackle and what we suggest. So that's the 10-hour all-day page on our website. Huge, almost page-long information on all the different tackle suggestions. But the long story short, Dan Christopher is a 3/0 woodwork for the 10-hour all-day. 2 dozen shrimp is a good option if you want to fish with them occasionally. But if you want to do the 5-hour, or if you want to do 5 dozen shrimp, that's going to give you a lot of shrimp to give you plenty of extra options for those hogs. Because if you're going out to target hogfish, 5 dozen would probably be recommended on a 10-hour trip. You can cut those shrimp in half and only use half. That does help you preserve your bait. But everything out there will bite a shrimp, and even the slightest nibble makes you lose your shrimp. Personally, for hogfish, I like waiting towards the second half of the spot. Once everything else slows down and stops biting, that's when I drop down my hogfish setup. Typically for hogfish, I'd be using anywhere between a 4,000 to 5,000 series spinning reel because I want that extra sensitivity, and then a very good backboned spinning rod with a nice light sensitive tip. Bull Bay rods are awesome, super light. St. Croix makes some really nice light sensitive rods with good backbone. You want a light sensitive reel like a Quantum Smoke or a Shimano Stratic. Daiwa makes a huge line of really good reels like the Daiwa BG. Something that's light and powerful. And then 20 to 25 pound braid, about a 25 to 30 foot fluorocarbon leader, so a line to line knot, and then 20 to 30 pound fluorocarbon, a 4/0 hook, and a super light egg sinker with a piece of shrimp is going to be your go-to for that hogfish. Second half of the spot is always the best time to target them. Once everything slows down and stops biting, that's when you want to drop down for the hogs. But a 3/0 would work as well. I have one regular who comes out fishing. He only uses the Daiwa LD50 2-speed saltist, the blue and black saltist. I sold him in our shop. Loves the reel. That's all he fishes with. And he does my double snell rig with the 40-pound fluorocarbon that this guy taught me. And that double snell rig catches him a hogfish every 10-hour trip. And for me, I'm always switching. If I'm targeting mangroves, I'm using that double snell rig with the conventional. But if I go to hogfish, I got to go grab my other rod because that's the hogfish setup, you know. And it screws me up because sometimes you'll miss fish. And he just fishes the same combo, same setup all
Does
day.
he use the 4s or does he use 2/0s or 3/0s?
He uses double snell 4/0 hooks on a 40-pound fluorocarbon leader.
And just shrimp on each one?
Shrimp on each one. Instead of when he's doing mangroves, he'll cut the head, cut the tail, and cut the belly of the thread fin and use that plug. But he watches these videos, he picks up the tips, but he doesn't switch rods. He uses that same rod and reel setup, and he catches a hogfish every freaking time he goes fishing.
Everyone is supposed to use circle hooks. Does he use circle hooks?
Well, the law is to use circle hooks, but I don't know what he uses, but I'm pretty sure it's J hooks.
Yeah.
Because the J hooks help you with those quicker biting fish.
2/0 just sharp, extra sharp J hook would be just contentious for the fish. That's for sure.
Yeah.
3/0s I've used for mangrove fishing. I definitely do not go larger than 4/0s.
Yeah.
Like the owner hooks run a little smaller.
Yeah. I like
than
an owner
some of the
4/0.
others. The owner 4/0 needle point is just. I mean, that thing will hook anything.
Yeah,
you just
even
get
your
close
finger.
to it. Yes. So those in 2 or 3/0 would be definitely
The problem with the hogfish is they have such a big mouth. So I find those smaller hooks, a lot of times I'll miss them. Whereas that larger 4/0 with that super small barb and that small, super thin needle hook, you really get a lot more hookup ratio with the 4/0. But it's definitely one of those age-old things. You
3
get
or
more
4/0, yeah.
You get more action on the 2 and 3/0, but that 4/0 will be able to snag you that big old. I mean, even a 14-inch hogfish have to be a minimum of 14 inches now. A 14-inch hogfish,
He's gonna fight.
you could put this LaCroix can in his mouth, and he's going to be able to hold it like this, and probably have more room. So their mouths are just so big, it's crazy. Weird looking fish, but boy, do they taste good, huh?
Yes, sir.
Man. So hopefully that answered your question there. Let's see if we got any other questions. Hathan Khalil said can't make reservations online. Hatham, you can shoot me a personal message to the Hubbard's Marina page, and I'll make you a reservation. Our reservation system works fine. I checked while you were talking, and I'm going to double check it again, but people are making reservations right now on our website. So, yep, 17 minutes ago, 22 minutes ago, 43 minutes ago, people are booking online.
He must have a computer like mine.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know, buddy, but you're welcome to shoot me a personal message, and I'll be happy to make your reservation for you. But people are using our website to book, so I don't know what's going on with yours, but I'd be happy to help you out, buddy.
Yeah.
Thanks
Worst
for
comes to
your
worst,
interest.
just call in the morning.
Yeah, we
talk
open
to the
at 6
ladies.
a.m. We can always book you over the phone as well. Gary Wilson said, what are you catching on the half day? Our 5-hour half day is our shortest trip closest to shore. So generally we catch smaller but good eating fish. Generally the gray snapper, also known as a white grunt, porgies, and black sea bass are 99% of what we catch on the half
We got
day.
a black sea bass Saturday. Oh my gosh, this thing was so big. It had to be 18 inches.
Holy
It was
moly.
one of the biggest black sea bass I've seen in years.
And that's what's funny is people will come down from the Northeast, and I'll be doing the seminar, and I'll be talking about, oh, we catch gray snapper, porgy, sea bass. Someone will come up to me, well, I just want sea bass. How do I catch sea bass? And then it clicks. I'm like, all right, well, this guy's from New England, and he's expecting a sea bass like this.
Yeah.
We don't get the huge sea bass where we're at. We'll get the the 11 to 15-inch sea bass.
Those are big sea bass.
Huge sea bass in our
This
area.
one, I mean, this thing was 18 inches. It was the biggest sea bass. Have great big huge shoulder on it. When I filleted it out,
head.
it was a beautiful fillet. Beautiful fillet.
Yeah, great eating fish, but we don't get the monsters like New England. So we get a little bit smaller sea bass, but they're still great eating. And then we have a great shot at mackerel right now. We're catching a ton of mackerel. Hogfish, we're catching here and there. You have a better shot for hogfish on that special 10-hour trip aboard the Hub right now. But on our half day, you have a shot at them, fuse and shrimp. And then as the water cools, the 5-hour half day will have a great shot at hogfish, and the 10-hour will continue to have the better shot. But we'll catch them more regularly as that water cools down. But let's see if we got any other questions here. So hopefully that answered your question there, Gary. We're catching gray snapper, porgy, sea bass primarily, with a ton of mackerel mixed in, and then a handful of hogfish, primarily on that 5-hour half day closer to shore. That is half price right now, only $27.50 for a 5-hour half day if you get that email coupon on our latest email newsletter. Let's see here. Tammy McGrevy Mitchell said, "Hi guys, was your family involved in the older fishing boats at Johns Pass? The Kingfisher, the Miss Judy, El Capitan, etc. Love those old fishing boats back in the 50s and 60s and beyond. My family wondered. Really enjoying your Sunday evening live shows. Thank you, Tammy." Hubbard's Marina, our family business. I'm 4th generation. He's 3rd generation. We started in Paso Grill at 8th Avenue Pier, what was then known as Hubbard's Pier. Now it's Mary Pier. That's where we started in 1928 from rowboats with cane poles. And in 76, was it? We moved from Paso Grill to Johns Pass. So back in the day with the El Capitan, the Kingfisher, that wasn't us. We were down in Paso Grill tearing up the fish. We were the first party boat in the area, the whole West Coast, really doing those long-range trips, correct?
Yes, we started doing the overnight trips in the 70s and built a boat specifically for it, the Florida Fisherman 1. And back when the El Capitan was in Johns Pass, we had the Miss Paso Grill 1, 2, and 3. Very similar boats that were fishing out of Paso Grill. That was the Rice family, old Charlie Rice, that ran the El Capitan and the Kingfisher. And we had the Miss Paso Grill 1, 2, and 3. And then the Florida Fisherman, we moved to Johns Pass in 76. Got the Florida Fisherman 2, Friendly Fisherman 1, Friendly Fisherman 2. Now we're on to the Flying Hub fleet.
Yep. We've got the Flying Hub 1, Flying Hub 2, and coming soon. Who knows? And we have the Mrs. Hub, we have the Hub, we have 4 private charter boats and 2 party boats and a bunch of other dolphin watching, ferry trips, island trips, shelling, snorkeling, and more. So a lot of stuff going on now, Tammy, but hopefully that answered your question. We do have a Hubbard's Marina history tab on our website if you're interested more. Tammy, there's a whole timeline there with tons of photos from back in the day. Let's see here. Justin Blanchard said, "Do you prefer treble hooks on your jig or assist hooks? If you use both, how do you decide on hook styles?" Justin, most of the time on our vertical jigs, I personally prefer the assist hooks. Nowadays, especially the more expensive vertical jigs, the flutter jigs, the slow pitch jigs, they're using these assist hooks that has one line coming off the hook and then 2 hooks that face each other. If you pull them apart, they kind of make a heart, and if you push them together, they have a hook coming out both sides.
Tricky.
Yeah, super cool.
That's called a scissor rig.
Scissor rig. You learn something new every day. And that is my favorite type of hook setup for vertical jigs. But on a recent 44-hour with the Jimmy family, my cousin Garrett was at the wheel. We were using Will McClure, our first mate extraordinaire on our 39-hour trip. We were using his vertical jigs, and they had treble hooks. And I was fishing a double snell rig, tearing up the snapper, one after another, having a great time, helping the kids catch these fish. And Garrett walks up next to me with a big grouper reel and one of those banana rigs with the treble hook. and caught his daily limit of grouper, 4 scamp grouper right next to me in a matter of like 20 minutes.
Huh.
And he looked at me and he was like, "That's how you do it." And he put up his rod and walked back upstairs.
That was a granddad move.
Yeah.
That's what he used to do.
Yeah. And just
now,
put
a
it
lot
down
of
and walked away. Mic drop.
You could do a lot of the butterfly jigs. They have the hook that's on the little piece of line.
Yep.
And they put 2 assist hooks on the same little slip ring. And that seems to work well.
Yeah, and I was talking to the guy from Sea Falcon from Melbourne, Rex, who wants to do a jigging trip with us. And he does flutter jig fishing for bluefin tuna, and he uses 4 assist hooks.
I was just going to say that as a joke, because those butterfly jigs have a ring at each end,
so you can work them from either way. Yeah, yeah, and that's what they do for those big bluefin. Because when you put 4 assist hooks on it, and it gets all up in his throat, a 300-pound tuna doesn't have any fight left, and he caught a 320-pound bluefin tuna on like a 60-pound class setup in 18 minutes.
Oh, that's crazy.
Because he swallowed that jig.
Yeah, they must have been on like a kingfish boat and they were chasing them around, Yeah. That's the only way you can get those kind of fish up.
Crazy. So hopefully that answers your question. Anthony Belmonte, Captain Anthony from the Flying Hub 2 tuned in, said, "I use the slow pitch jigs every 12-hour trip and kill the fish. We have just a jigging charter coming up this Sunday." That's Robert Henry and his buddies from the East Coast with Sea Falcon jigs, and they really do well. And I was filming the Grouper Mastery course with the guys from Salt Strong, and that's right, Captain Anthony fished that vertical jig the whole time and tore up the scamp, caught some nice snapper with it, a few red grouper, gag grouper. So we're going to have Captain Anthony on the show here one of these days. If we can ever get him off the boat and have him give out some jigging secrets. So stay tuned for that. Let's take a few more questions and wrap this thing up. This has been a good show. Very impressive. Normally I run out of questions by this time. So thanks for coming with me and keeping the questions going. Angela Purdue Daly, one of our new Regulars Club members, said, "So yeah, I'm gonna need to go fishing with your dad. You must know a few things. You're impressing people over here." How far out are the gags? Adam McQueen said. Right now we're catching most of our gag grouper in deeper water, 120 foot plus. If you asked me that in June or July, Adam, I would have said 150 foot plus. Nowadays, they're definitely starting to inch inshore. Recent overnighters towards the beginning of August, we saw them come into like 130, 140. Then we saw them in 110, 100 foot. You were catching some keeper gags in super shallow water.
Joe Drew pointed me in a direction Wednesday, and I went to that area in 60 foot, 55, 60 foot of water. There's a series of about 8 ledges in this one area, and I fished them, and we got a nice keeper gag, 3 others that were 22 and 23 inches.
Wow.
So there were other keeper gags in there. We just didn't hook them. We got broke off once, got rocked up once, and then we had a whole bunch of them. They were 18 to 20 inch, but there were a lot of gags in there. And that was right ahead of a pod of red tide. So I think those fish were swimming ahead of it.
Yeah.
And but yeah, this time of year when the storms start rolling around, those fish get up under the rocks again, and water temp starts dropping. On the backside of our very first bad tropical storm, all the ledges will have fish.
Yeah, it's always a race to the big structure behind those storms. Again, guys, on our website, hubbardsmarina.com, you can click fishing trips, click weather links, and under the weather links page at the bottom left-hand side is that how weather affects fishing video. That's a YouTube video we did. It talks all about what he's alluding to, how that weather has the effect on fish and what the fish do when the weather is a certain way. So definitely check out that page of our website. Let's see here what other questions we have. right. I think we pretty much answered most of the questions. Remember, guys, if you have a question we didn't get to, we will be going back through the questions and answering what we didn't get to when we were live. Rad Fishing, we'll cover this one real quick because I love scamp grouper. Rad Fishing said, what is your depth range when you target scamp grouper? For me, I'm going to go out deeper, 150 foot plus. What about you?
Yeah, 120.
120.
Anything. Yep. I mean, they start. We were catching scamp at 50 foot of water, but they just were small fish. We did have one keeper scamp, actually. We had a keeper gag, and a keeper scamp in 55, 60 foot of water, that was unusual. But if you want to target scamp, you get out to about 120, 130 foot, and you get some real good hard bottom.
Yeah.
And that's where those scamps are going to be living. If you want to go get them for sure, get out there to that 140, 150, 160 stuff. Just anywhere around the 40 fathom break, and that's you're going to be good to go.
Now you're getting too specific.
Yeah.
We're going to edit that part out. But yeah, there's some big scamp out there in deeper water. It's amazing how big they get and how fruitful they can be out in that deeper water. I think some of the best scamp fishing I've seen you do is on our 63 hour on the way out, when you hit those 250 to 350, even 400 foot spots.
Yeah, the 40 and the 50 fathom breaks. And that's and even deeper, but those definitely, that area holds a lot of scamp.
Remember that we did that trip on the Flying Hub 2 after we first bought it, that shakedown trip, and we were fishing like 450 foot of water, or like 420. And those big dusky sharks were eating all those tuna.
Yes.
Remember that?
Yes.
That was the biggest scamp I ever caught on that electric reel, like 420 foot of water.
Yep, we were just off the 40 break and fishing the 50, and that was fun.
That was a good trip. Flying Hub 2 and the Flying Hub 1 can take you deep dropping. We have tons of private charter options at Hubbard's Marina, any depth of water, whatever you want to catch, any size group, whatever you want to do. Hubbard's Marina's got your fishing trip. Because remember,
if you're too busy to go fishing, you're just too busy.
Darn busy. Yes, sir. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. We're going to wrap this thing up. I appreciate y'all. We wouldn't be where we are today without you guys, our fishing family, our fishing friends. Thank you for your comments, your likes. Again, please share this video to your timeline. Help us spread the word. I'll see you next week at Sunday night, 8:30 p.m. Again, we do this live show every week. Sunday nights, 8:30 p.m. And we do those live reports on our website and on our YouTube pages and Facebook page every day. Keep up to date. Find out what we've been catching. And don't forget about those half-price fishing trips. And we'll see you soon at Hubbard's Marina. And thanks for tuning in. Happy Sunday. God bless.